Lines in the sand, welcome to the front row. Real life hitting, everybody wanna know. When the spin get thick, who cuts through the chain? AK, David Drew stepping into the frame. Late nights, Dukes in the dirt. From the grind to the house, to the stove, to the grease stain shirts. Parents, pay-grease, fight for what's true. From the clinic to the warehouse, to your living room. Headlines screaming, but we ain't scared. Faith in our bones, yeah, we came prepared. Culture war is unchained. Where the real ones meet the rage. Where the truth cuts through the noise. Every voice on the stage. Culture war is unchained. From the heartland to your brain. If you're tired of the script, we're here to break the chain.
Welcome back to Culture Warriors Unchained. It is March 9th, the day after International Women's Day. So if you forgot to celebrate yesterday, don't worry. They're already hashtagging about it. And for those of us that still know what a man or a woman is, I hope you celebrated. Tonight, we're covering bombs thrown at a political event in New York, oil jumping up past $100 a barrel as tensions heat up with Iran, a new supreme leader possibly shaking things up in Tehran, and whether or not we're going to take over Cuba and just, all of South America, which as an immigrant from South America, I am 100% down for. And just when you thought things couldn't get weirder, AI is now asking why humans even bother writing articles anymore, which greatly explains modern journalism. But I am David. This is Culture Warriors Unchained. I'm here with my awesome co-hosts, AK, Kamara, and Drew Outstanding. And we are joined by our special guest this episode, John Rowell. John, I'm going to kick it over to you. Introduce yourself. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, thanks for having me. Had a great time in International Women's Day today, so really excited to come on and share a bit about that.
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm a pro-life activist full-time, so everything I do and my team does over at the Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust is geared towards saving lives and saving souls. So we're Christian, we think that every life has value because every life is made in the image of God. And everything we do, whether it's activism, protesting, campus outreach, is geared towards that mission.
Awesome, John. Well, we're glad to have you on. AK, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you're all about.
AK Kamara. I'm actually the Republican National Committee man for the state of Minnesota. And hopefully this is episode 17. Hopefully you guys hit the like button. Make sure you hit the share button. And make sure to drop your comments throughout the course of today's episode. We are streaming, hopefully, on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. And so if you're not able to watch us live and you're watching after the fact, you can always share that with everyone. And also we are everywhere podcasts are available, whether that's iHeart, whether it's Apple, and also Pandora. So make sure that you guys do that. Now, my goal and really my role within the Culture Warriors Unchained podcast is to be able to present an avenue of people to become politically active. Like, it's great that you vote. Like, that's very, very important. But also to let you know it's okay to be involved in the Republican Party if you find that that party is the party for you. And to become an activist, it's not for like old stodgy dudes that really aren't connected to culture and reality. It's for normal people like me. Drew, who are you and what do you do on this podcast?
Yeah, I am Drew Outstanding. I am your token disabled veteran, now consultant, event planner, and disabled athlete, or adaptive athlete, I guess you'd call it. And I am still in training for the Disabled Veterans Winter Sports Clinic. That's a mouthful, but in April, coming up in a couple weeks, I'll be in Aspen, Colorado for a week, my fourth year now. And one step closer to competing. And there's actually a Minnesotan, I believe he's about 21 years old right now. He's been training for I think over 10 years now, and he's actually in the Paralympics this year competing. So that's pretty amazing. And maybe that's my course. We'll see. But on the show, I'm here to be that voice in the middle, all around, talking logistics, finance, and just kind of just keeping it going, especially with pop culture. We had a couple interesting articles about that coming up too. So thanks for having me. And then when David, you said celebrate men or women's day, I was wondering, how do you celebrate that? But I think I celebrated that yesterday.
Well, I married a woman and I love women, so I celebrate women.
You know, I called my mother and I thanked her for not sending me back to Peru. She didn't answer the phone, but you know, that's all good. Her International Women's Day is not having to deal with her son.
Outstanding.
What about you, John? Did you do anything?
Yeah, well, I joined a protest yesterday,
I
doing some
love
interview
it.
questions. That's kind of my forte for Instagram, and they love me. You know, a bunch of old white ladies. I'm pretty popular with that crowd. Just asking them how I could be a better male feminist, and they gave me some great answers.
I love it. We are going to hear more about that in the second hour. But jumping into the first story of the evening, Jake Lang, you know, our infamous J6er who came here to Minnesota a while ago, and we covered that when he had the Quran wrapped in bacon. AK played that clip for us the last time he was doing something. He was in New York City protesting near Mamdani's residence, and somebody decided to throw some bombs and yell some phrases in a language that means something about the prophet and violence. If you want to pull that article up for us, AM, we'll kind of run through it. And I also have a video clip that we can jump into once it's up. Here we go. All right, so on Saturday, improvised explosive devices were hurled at an anti-Islam demonstration outside Gracie Mansion. The authorities are investigating as ISIS-inspired, potentially, with two suspects in custody. Investigators say Emir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi, AK, you can tell me if I just butchered those, traveled from
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
you nailed it,
to-
dude. It sounds like you're actually like, when I close my eyes, I feel like I'm in the Middle East hearing people speak native Arabic.
You know, there's a good story behind that, but let me get through this article. To bring violence, never miss a live show. You never know what we're going to say to each other. Referencing ISIS materials, New York City bomb squad found the device thrown at the protest yesterday. Not a hoax or a smoke bomb, described as a jar wrapped in black tape with nuts, bolts, screws, and a hobby fuse. Thank God these people don't know what they're doing. Thankfully, it looks like nobody was hurt. I have the video of it, but before we jump into that, kind of everybody around the horn, did you hear about this? What are your thoughts on it? Did you see this
Yeah,
coming?
I'll go real quick. Like the big thing I noticed was the verbiage that, depending on the article, depending on the news outlet, was talking about that. I know the mayor came out and said like a bunch of what, in my opinion, word vomit with this stuff, and it made it seem like you didn't know who was the victim of this and who actually did it, because there's protest and counter protest, and just quick listening it, you would think that the person was doing it against him, and like that, but instead, no, it was these people using these, and the way they were describing this, like device with the fuse or something like that. And no, it was an IED. It was an improvised explosive device. We're familiar with these, with the war on terror in the past 20 years, and it's meant to do massive amounts of harm in a small area. So that's what I got from this. Was it's a bunch of word vomit and linguistic manipulation.
Yeah, they actually tried to do it's a smoke bomb, or what appeared to be a smoke bomb. And the story is actually pretty insane. I would, say as a Christian that there was some type of divine intervention, because they didn't use just one, but two IEDs that failed to go off. One they lit, and it basically something must have messed up with it. But afterwards, when they're apprehended, one of the guys said that he was inspired by ISIS, but then he also said that he had hoped to make this bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing, which, if you guys remember, killed 3 people. And so, I mean, only because I don't know, they're just not good bomb makers or whatever. But I mean, they had 2 of these devices. So I think it's absolutely insane that the way that the media was originally spinning this is that it was like a counter protester that was trying to throw a smoke bomb because they were really upset at Jake Lang or whatever. And so I just think that that's insane that we were, to me, 2 just absolutely mess ups or divine providence of having some type of horrific event in New York City.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you guys on this. The word games are insane. I was reading an article earlier, I think it might have been from the Washington Post, and the headline about this was something like 2 Pennsylvania teenagers tried to ignite explosive device. Sure, yeah, technically that's true, but they weren't just your average Pennsylvanian teenager, right? They were 19, they were adults from the Middle East. Like, all of these word games are meant to conceal what we know is really going on. But the fact is that terror from the left and violence from the left and its allies has been on the rise for years, especially after Charlie Kirk's death.
And you had to know that this kind of thing could possibly happen more than likely not after the mayor came in. Like everyone from all these sides had to be preparing for stuff. Hopefully they weren't, kind of pushing for it and, use it. Let me put it like this: using the possibility as support for their cause or whatever the case is, because it's getting too much. But yeah, they had to be prepared for it. Just like, if I went and ran for mayor in Japan, something might happen to me in that kind of way. Like this stuff is thought out, and they were, if anything, they run scenarios for these possible actions. David, you might be on mute, but I bet that was very insightful. So. And we don't got you, but yeah, it's it's an interesting. It's really tough. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm
especially,
back.
like, yep, you are back and ready for action.
Outstanding. My only pushback on you was going to be that would not happen to you in Japan, because Japan does not have the crime problems we have. They're still, their punishments are maximum there, and that's, we could take some inspiration with them on some of that. The other thing that I noticed, and Jeremy from the Quartering, shout out to Jeremy, our neighbor over in Wisconsin, he talked about earlier today, Mamdani basically blamed the bombing the bombing attempt on white supremacy. Ridiculous. It's like, do you see the names? You heard AK when I pronounced them, it sounded like we were somewhere where there's not a lot of grass. You know what I mean? Allegedly. AM, if you want to pull up that video, we actually have footage of the second, or I believe this is the second device that they attempted to set off, and the individual fleeing from law enforcement. So yeah, so there he is dropping it by that tree before he runs for it. And then depending on
And David, we're losing. Looks like you're muted, but we're. Yeah, it's really a shame.
we're having a difficult time here. Here we go.
You're good, David. I was just gonna say it's really a shame that, like I said previous episodes, I was in the war on terror, in this, deployed twice, and then these similar things, and now I come back to America, Minnesota, or this is in New York. I've been in New York before, and this is it's the same thing now. Part of America, all over, everywhere. It's tough.
Yeah, and depending on the angle of the video, because there's a couple of other clips that are out there, you can actually hear him yell, "Alu, I'll let you finish," what he's yelling. So it's very clearly the motivations. Like, you don't have to guess. Like the mayor saying that he can't speculate. It's like, you could speculate. It's kind of obvious, but I. Yeah, I look at that and I'm like, what did we deploy for? What was the point of all that? Between watching Afghanistan fall, watching Iraq fall after we pulled out, I'm kind of floored because literally we just had 9/11. How long? Like within our lifetime, right? John, was that in your lifetime? I don't believe we've asked you how old you are. You look younger than us though, so I'm assuming it may not have been in your lifetime.
Just a little bit, yeah. So not quite.
Okay, fair enough. So for you, it's like Vietnam was for us. Got it. Just something in the history books that happened previously. AK, welcome back. We were just watching the video of the guy dropping the incendiary device that's not a bomb, according to the mayor.
Yeah, I mean,
And we lost him. Professionals here. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not professionals or anything. Listen, Minnesota's having some weird internet stuff. I don't know, or maybe it's because we're conservatives on the internet. Who knows? Allegedly, I can't. That's neither here nor there. We're gonna move on to the next topic, though.
Yeah,
Unless
let's
you
go.
guys had any final thoughts on this?
Go for it.
All right. While we wait for AK to come back, we're going to jump over across the ocean now. And with everything going on in Iran, our oil prices are going up. And it's because the barrel prices went from $60 to $70, not even roughly 2 weeks ago, to now over $100 a barrel. Some markets are warning that that's going to be a huge problem. AM, if you want to throw up that article for us. And then tying into that, it looks like they're naming Khamenei's. I'm not going to try to pronounce that one. The former Supreme Leader's son as the new potential leader. Drew, I'll
Yeah,
let you
and-
pronounce that.
Well, yeah, this one was he was like something fourth, fifth, like really down the line. Well, yeah. Well, we'll start with the oil because this bumped up as far as the barrel goes, but then also at the pump, I've seen in Minnesota, something like 40 cents rise, and that's going to happen. It goes up and down in season, and we're coming into travel season too and stuff like this. But the attacks and just jump on that, especially with we talked previously about the Strait of Hormuz and that being controlled. But then I think there's a second part to this article where Trump came out and said, then why don't we just control go for the Strait of Hormuz, and then then oil started to go down. So it's doing this up and down kind of thing depending on the news that's going on. So it's really quite interesting, and it's tough for the stock market right now because they really don't know what to do. Investors want consistency, whether it's bad news for some. It's always going to be bad news somewhere and good news somewhere else. But the up and down and shifting around is not good for anybody when this comes to these things. So the good thing is, like I said, my ongoing look for the perfect truck is what I'm looking for right now, and it's taking longer than expected, but that's fine. Maybe this is going to make people go for EVs or hybrids a little bit more. They were pushing away from those because the tax credits went away last September, but now maybe they might go for EVs a little bit more, and I can get my gas guzzling truck that can get me out in the middle of nowhere, and I can still have my mobile office.
What about you, John? You're an aspiring male feminist. Are you going to go get an EV after this?
Yeah, it's tempting, but nah, I like old school. My dream car is like a '67 Mustang. So electric, I don't know, a little out of my tastes.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this on the previous episode. The oil prices were probably going to go up. Now we have also, limitations on natural gas that's coming from the other states over there that aren't producing the way they were. So that's going to be an issue too. Eventually, your utility bills could change. So just kind of prepare for that. I would say that I noticed the price of gas at Quick Trip here in Minnesota has gone up significantly. John, Quick Trip's like I don't want to call it our version of Buc-ee's, but it's like it's like if you want to get a classy snack with your gas and like a good energy drink and some water, you go to a Quick Trip.
You get a
We're
full
talking
meal.
about gas prices. Yeah, you get a
it's
full
worth
meal
all
at Quick
Buc-ee's.
Trip.
You can get
absolutely.
breakfast, lunch, dinner, pizza. You can get all that kind of stuff at a
Quick
Quick
Trip
Trip.
sponsor
So-
us.
No.
Okay, we're talking about.
You're not sponsored
gas.
yet.
Yes, we could be.
and then maybe I could afford some good internet instead of this Boost Mobile stuff I got.
No, yeah, it's interesting. like you said, David,
For all your tech
prepare
love,
for
how
it.
do you not
I
have
really,
Starlink?
you really, as an individual, you got to do the best to mitigate these changes, whether it's local, whether it's national, whether it's worldwide. These things are going to happen, and just personal kind of budgeting, that kind of stuff. Know what you're spending on fuel. Know what you're spending on utilities and stuff like that. Look at that bill. Compare it to year over year. I do this stuff. I don't know how many other people do this, but it makes a lot of sense. And then just have those emergency funds. This is all just personal finance, obviously not advice, but it's just that little, because you never know. These are uncontrollables, worldwide things that can happen, and it happens with every presidency, with every year. There's gonna be different kind of stuff. So yeah, it's those uncontrollables. But if you keep your house in order, you can withstand these temporary things. And that's what a lot of these news articles, both or every side, CNN, Fox News, everybody was saying, temporary pain for long-term success, and different forms of that. And that's what it is. You got to be able to withstand some temporary things. Just because it's a lot of people are saying that does not make it untrue. So sometimes it's going to be tough. John, how's your oil prices, gas prices in California right now?
I mean, it's always a nightmare, but it's definitely been going up the last couple of days.
Does it
It's,
modify your travel at all when it goes up or down?
given the nature of my work, I kind of have to travel whether I want to or not. So not really, but it does make things more difficult. And it's fine for me. I'm just a single man, right? I don't have a family to provide for. But for a lot of people, I think this is going to be devastating. And I think it's going to be tough for the Trump administration to justify the long-term consequences of this if it keeps going the way it looks like it's going.
Well, the big thing about that is how long it could happen. First, it was said that it would be about 4 to 5 weeks, and in 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to come up on that. But I like that the communication is coming out there in the form of Truth or X or whatever it is, and giving updates related to the stock market, the 401ks, the gas prices, because I'd rather hear bad news. I had a platoon sergeant on my first deployment. He says, don't be afraid to come to me if you make a mistake, or if you do something, or something bad happens to you. He said, report bad news early. So yeah, Sergeant First Class Reynolds, I always appreciate that quote, was tell me right as soon as possible, because then he can, take care of things when it's smaller, because I was 19-year-old PFC, outstanding, and he's got, 20 years on me and in the military. And so he's been through more problems and can fix it before it impacts more people. So yeah, report bad news early.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's fascinating is just to kind of see what people's, I guess, the difference between people's short-term and long-term perspective. I know we kind of talked earlier that, last episode, that I think most millennials, and I would even say Gen Zers that are a little bit older, and especially Gen Xers, were like completely traumatized by Iraq and Afghanistan in regards to, like, there's no point in being in the Middle East. It's always going to be a life suck of human beings from the United States that are basically, dying for no reason, for lack of a better phrase, right? And I think that this is completely different. And I kind of laid out my points about the administration is saying that this is going to be a limited operation, but the potential upside, I mean, we're talking about removing the largest state sponsor of terror in the last 50 years. Like, Iran has been responsible for the majority of terror that has been going on around the world in regards to American interests. And so if they end up being successful, if we actually do, if we are able to root out and really stop their capacity to do what they've been doing to us for the last 50 years, President Trump will go down as like one of the greatest military strategic minds in the world. And people are going to say, why wasn't this done earlier? But on the flip side, if things are nasty and we're talking 6-7 months, I feel like Republicans are just going to get romped in the midterms, and it'll just be impeach President Trump every other day in Congress if Democrats take over the House. So it's kind of a weird gamble, but we'll see how it plays out. I know we're going to talk about probably a few other aspects, but the price of barrel of oil has already went up over 100 and now it's back down to 89. And so I mean, President Trump said today that this is not going to be a prolonged type of deal. Secretary of War Hegseth has said that as well. So it'll be fascinating to see how it works. But I'm curious from your perspective, what's kind of your gut feeling? Like, how do you feel? Because you're a young guy, right? Like you're in your 20s. Like, what's your kind of gut reaction to us being involved in these military strikes in Iran?
Logically, like you said, I could see it going either way, either being a huge success for Trump or a huge failure. And I can see why we would take that risk. But at the same time, just in my heart, this looks to me like it's just feeding the same war machine that we've fed for years. Back in 2016, Trump ran for draining the swamp and for fighting the system and the establishment. And to my eyes, this looks to me like he's become the establishment.
I think that's fair. I mean, from just like your group, because I imagine most people that you kick it with are probably close-ish to your age. Of course, you probably have friends that are older and things like that. But what's kind of the feeling? Is the feeling like this is Trump betraying his promise to like not do the forever war thing? Is there a smidgen of people that are like, we'll give him a little bit more time, but like, or are people just like, no, I'm done. Like he's betrayed me. Just from, again, your perspective, I don't even necessarily need to know what your specific thoughts are unless you want to share them. But just like, what do you observe?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's differing perspectives on it. Everybody has their own ideas, but the most consistent theme is the fear that somewhere behind the scenes, Israel pulled us into this, right? I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's the concern of my generation.
Yeah, I
I
got
think
some
that's fair. I
context.
mean, it's important. Yeah,
Share.
go ahead, Drew.
Yep. So we got here Iran names. I'm going to make up this word. Mojave Kaba. And that's obviously not right. Khamenei. So his supreme leader as war fuels spike in protein, and spike in
Get
oil
that protein
prices.
pumping.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, we're
One more
throwing
shout
all
out
this.
to carnivore diet.
I know. We're just trying to get those sponsors. No, it all kind of comes around, and it makes a lot of sense because these things do impact all the different generations that we are, especially millennials, where we got more disposable income and we got a memory of what the last 20 years on the War of Terror look like. So right here it says Trump suggests Iran conflict could end very soon, given very effective U.S. military action. And AK, like you said, we'll see, because we don't have, and we're in the TikTok generation where like we want to see results right now, which that's not, David knows that's not how military operations work. It's operation orders, it's writing these up, it's planning, it's working with other countries, allies, and making this all work and making the classified stuff happen behind the scenes, and then the front stuff. But I believe that a lot of this is leading up to it, like taking out, if I said, is it the wrong name, Maduro, Venezuela. So I think that's kind of set the stage so that they couldn't rely on Venezuela oil. So it's like, it's a lot of things in place. We have to, like he says, we have to see kind of how it plays out. But so we got these facts. Like I said, this guy that's taken over the Sun, but he wasn't next in line. There were all these other ones, but they were taken out. I know that Trump said something like, if he gets consent from us, I'm paraphrasing right now, but it was something like that, where like if he gets permission, we'll let him in. But yeah, it's really interesting. What are you guys feeling when it comes to this? It just adds a little bit. Oh, here's a good your Strait of Hormuz. So this is your oil channel when it comes to over in Iran, and so our partners, or people who we worked with, UAE, that's Oman. This is where a lot of the allies, and then what is it, Abraham Accords came into play with a lot of these countries. So I know some of these neighbors to Iran. They're like, hey, we don't know if we want to join in on this. We had a good thing going, and now what are we doing? So yeah, it's yeah. One thing that I think is gonna we'll see when it comes to is what Russia and China are gonna do too. It's like so if we can maybe make a deal with China and say that, hey, do not get involved, and then we'll sell oil to you that maybe Iran was doing. That could be a possibility too, where it's a business thing, and saying maybe we can work together, just don't get involved. What do you think, fellas? David?
I think the biggest goal, just kind of looking at the big picture, kind of like what AK was talking about, looking at this is I think the big overarching goal of the Trump administration, just from the outside looking in, is this is all kind of maneuvering to push China into a position where they have to do business with us in a much more fair manner, right? They lost access to the oil and the deals they had in Venezuela, right? We took all that infrastructure back, and now they're going to have limited access to Iran, depending on how this shakes out. And I think that that's going to force them to come to the table, and actually, hopefully stealing our IP and all the things that we come up with, and deal with us in a more fair level of trade and things like that. I actually have this really funny photo, AM, if you want to throw it up, of what Trump's going to be doing with some artwork. I saw this online. I shared it. I thought it was hilarious, and I just want to share it with you guys.
I believe they lost control of Panama as well. Panama business.
China
as
did.
well.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we're the Monroe Doctrine.
Carbonite.
The Don
Those
Road.
Take a
listening-
look at this.
That's funny.
Listen, they need
So
to move those curtains because we need more room. Because I think before
Describe
the end of
it,
this 4
David.
years,
What do we got
there's
here?
going to be a wall. So it looks like we've got Maduro and the Ayatollah in carbonite behind President Trump in Han Solo style. I will say the only inaccurate thing there is the Ayatollah is dead.
Yeah, he's in
Maduro-
pieces, dog.
Yeah. One of them still alive. You can thaw him out, maybe. The other one.
Well, it
not
could be
so
like a
much.
Schrodinger's box where you don't know if they're alive or dead until they get out of the carbonite. So we don't even know after Empire Strikes Back if Han Solo is going to be okay. We had to wait till Return of the Jedi.
That's true.
All right, fair
and
enough.
it's possible that this is like the conspiracy is that Khomeini is not dead. He's just been carbonized, and so he's there. But here's what I think. Right, all of this is because President Trump wants to completely recontrol and if you want to say reorganize, actually, kind of the global power structure. I made this argument before, and I think that as I've heard the administration, and whether we're talking about Rubio or Hegseth, come out and talk about what the actual long-term goals are, what they hope they can accomplish, this is just one more piece to the entire puzzle itself. You got to understand that if America we step back and we say we're going to let other countries do what they want, I think that that's actually like literally retarded. I think that other countries will do everything in their power to destroy us. China and Russia, if they have the capacity to destroy us economically, they will. And I think that in order to be able to actually remove the control of what the current structure is, which again, I go back to the end of World War II and creating the liberal economic order, the only way for us to do that and to like basically say that we are at the top by ourselves. We're not like a coalition of other nations. Screw NATO, screw the EU. And when I say screw them, I'm not saying that we don't ever find ways that we work together, but I'm saying to allow them to force our hand. That's what we have been doing for the better part of 70 years. They basically tell us what to do, and then we go along with it. And sometimes we're telling them what to do and they go along with it, but it seems like that dynamic has really shifted. I think that everything in regards to Iraq and Afghanistan was truly about NATO having a larger objective and goal in regards to controlling energy in the region. And that, yes, America could have been a beneficiary of that, but we, like all of these deals, we were the main funder of human bodies and of money. We're talking trillions of dollars that the United States spent, but yet who benefited? Germany benefited, France benefited, right? All of these pipelines. Obviously, Russia benefited with their natural gas. Like all of this energy dominance that was happening all throughout Europe wasn't happening here in the United States in any way, shape, or form. Now, Trump came in and he was like, this is stupid. We're suckers. But the only way to effectively reorganize this liberal economic order and make sure that America's at the pinnacle and then everyone follows us is we have to be able to break ourselves from all of these terrible deals. Because if the pressure, like this is what you're seeing that's crazy, if the pressure of the price of oil is so controlled by other forces in the United States that it makes us stop doing a military action, then just bring that out to a larger scale. And I mean, again, think about Russia, think about China. If they feel that we can go all in, and I'll call it, this is Trump's gambit. Like, this is truly, if he fails at this, it will show that we are weak. And I think that the ramifications are going to be very detrimental for a very long time. But if he succeeds, then I think that it shows that America, we are the ones that set we set the pace, we set the tone. And if you don't do what is in our best interest, then you're screwed. And luckily, we're a benevolent nation compared to other nations. Now, in general, we aren't. I mean, we're human beings, and humans are full of sin. But like, compared to all other nations, I think that the United States, and that's kind of how I see things, though. I'm just praying every day, man, that this thing works out, because if it doesn't, it's more than just the election cycle coming up. I mean, it's going to expose that we are nowhere near what we thought we were, and I think other nations will test us significantly.
That's the point with the midterms coming up. So there's a lot on the line. They can't mess it up. But if boots go on the ground, and major divisions get deployed, it will have a negative impact on a lot of people, a lot of different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we'll see, I guess, who we'll see in the long term who was right and who was wrong. The one thing I do want to jump into real quick before we jump on to the next story, AM, if you could get the video of the troops returning home up. So I just want to talk about, obviously, we have the conflict, we have the price of oil, we have those packs, but I don't want to also overlook the human toll that this takes, and it's actually something that for us Minnesotans, it hits a little closer to home. So there have been 4 reserve soldiers that were killed in Kuwait back on the 1st, and I have their names here, and I have the video from the White House's social media account of them arriving home with Trump and them there to greet them. And while you're playing this, AM, make sure it's not too loud, but I'll read off their names while it's playing. You can bring that down a little bit. Thank you. So we have Captain Cody A. Court, Sergeant First Class Noah L. Pensions, Sergeant First Class Nicole M. Lamore, and that's the veteran from Minnesota here, the soldier from Minnesota here, and Sergeant Declan J. Cody. And we can talk about the price of oil, we can talk about the price of groceries, but I want to make sure that we don't overlook the human toll. And then, AM, if you could pull up that photo of the difference between the leadership we have in the White House, I think this kind of says it all. This was posted earlier today, I believe, by Benny Johnson. I was one of the people I follow, and just the difference in respect and reverence that we get from our commanders in chief when people come home on those honor flights. And you've got one guy who can't wait for his next bowl of oatmeal, and the price is right. And you've got somebody who actually cares about the men and women under his.
So yeah, the picture is Joe Biden looking at his watch. It's been talked about for the last couple of years when it happened, with a mask on outside, and then you got Trump saluting. And yeah, hits close to home. I believe you said 4 that might have been for this trip back, and I believe 7 is a complete total of where we're at for KIA.
Yeah, there was a few that perished, I believe, in field hospitals.
Yeah, that hits close to home, especially that they passed away in Kuwait, which is typically a safer place in the last decade or so. That's where I was on my last. And the joke is, you don't even call Kuwait a deployment because it's not dangerous as much as other areas.
Don't. It was a green zone. Actually, when I was deployed, they sent us to Kuwait for a week of R&R, so we didn't lose our minds. You could go hang out on the base with the water fountain and all the Air Force girls. It was a good time.
Yeah, like I said, my last 2018-2019 deployment, Kuwait, and then from there, other people went to Iraq and other places in the Middle East, and that's where there was more combat, more danger. The hazard pay and stuff like that, and they did get rocketed, and there were loss of life, not from the Minnesota unit I was in, but the ones that were under our command. And so yeah, it was tough. And now that I'm out, and then people are still getting KIA in Kuwait and other areas, it's devastating. So hopefully we can honor this and make sure the world is a little bit more safe, given the ultimate sacrifices that they put through.
Yeah, I think it's always, something I used to say to people quite a bit, actually back during both Enduring Freedom and, Iraqi freedom. Like, honestly, like, I think that what people fail to forget is that the reason that countries, or you want to say nations, develop militaries is to be able to protect what our interests are, like going all throughout human history. And obviously, as those militaries meet with clashes, obviously you're going to have people that give up their life in service to that nation. And so, one of the things that I have always had extreme reverence for, anyone that loses their life, and actually anyone that serves, even if you end up being like, you get done with your deployment, you get done with your service, and you do some terrible things. I think that you sacrifice your time and your energy, and a lot of times, yeah, you're putting your life on the line. Even when you get an easier deployment to Kuwait, things can pop off at any time. I mean, there's been plenty throughout, the history of the United States where there's some type of violent action that occurs, but you are in service to this nation, something that's greater than yourself. And so I always just think it's important to always have that mindset of that level of respect. And even if you are in disagreement with military actions that the United States is taking, the men and women that signed that contract and said, I'm going to serve my country and I'm going to put my life on the line in service to this country, like, that should never be something that you have disrespect for people that do that. And I think that's insane. I mean, I've seen, the typical I hate America type of left-wing trolls that have been saying things like, if we go boots on the ground and you decide that you're going to remain in this voluntary military, then in armed forces, then you're going to be treated worse than the Vietnam veterans were.
Yeah,
and it's like, if
horrible.
that's how you feel, man, like I'm at a point, I'm 41. If I saw someone like truly like spitting on a veteran, like, I would rock that person. Like, I'm going to drop them.
I appreciate
like,
that. I got goosebumps.
that, and
right
that's,
now.
but I just
think
wanted to
John
say
got
that piece,
something.
man, is like those Gold Star families now, man, they have lost a loved one in service to this country. And regardless of what you think about whether we should or shouldn't be or doing whatever, that was in service to something greater than yourself. And we should have the utmost honor and respect for anyone that would do that in service to this great nation if you're an American citizen. So
Thanks, AK. John, do you got something on that?
Yeah, well, I'm curious about your perspective here, seeing as you guys have served before. We've decimated Iran's leadership, and yet now we have the Khomeini's what, like fourth son, seventh down the line, something like that, rising up to take his place. Basically, the same dictator in a different body. Ultimately, how do you think we bring an end to this and bring back order without it ending up in boots on the ground?
It's a good question. What I've been hearing recently is special forces are kind of ready and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's 1,000 different, a handful of solid plans that they're going along with. So I've always been more on the favor of special forces do their thing, go in and knock stuff out, depending on, whatever's going on, the operation, the country, there's many things. There is a lot of better ways to do it than, like I said, the division level, 10,000 soldiers rotating out and ones under that. Yeah, I'm hoping that. I believe under the Biden, they had like, the raft thing that kept getting closer and closer to one of the operations that was going on. And that was just a weird half measure. I did not like that one at all, because it's like we have boots on our raft that are getting closer to something. And that was not a favorite of mine. So yeah, I'm trying to avoid that, fellow soldiers going back out there and just being in this natural resource and contractor driven operation. I think, and a lot of people my age and my experience don't want that to happen again. We still remember that.
I
What
think
about you,
this is,
David?
this is an uphill battle for us because, the difference between Iran and Venezuela is, we went in, we sent in operators, we secured, their leader, and we pulled him out, and he's facing charges here in the States. They don't have a martyrdom culture in Venezuela, whereas Iran does. So, I mean, we could kill the next 10 guys in charge, and they're all going to be looked at as martyrs. They're going to be revered. And so I don't know where the end game is. I'm not going to presume to know. I was never a general or anything of that nature. But I do have concern with arming the Kurds and encouraging them to go and proxy fight for us. Because, I mean, here in Minnesota, we have a significant Hmong community. I actually got to spend some time with them this weekend. I'm with them all the time. It's fantastic. Their food is great. Their culture is great. They are everything that the American immigrant should be in modern times. Just they're grateful to be here. They're 100% American. It's beautiful. But anyways, we had them fighting a proxy war for us, against the communists, and that did not go well. And it created a huge refugee crisis, a huge humanitarian crisis, and now we're asking these Kurdish tribes to go and do the same thing, and they're already, refugees that fled, excuse me, previous violence. So I'm just concerned about the outcome of that, and then also we have a bad history of arming the wrong people that end up becoming our enemies later. But I don't know if AK, if you have any pushback on that, but that's kind of the two concerns that I have.
I think he's having some issues right now. I'm going to say that.
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the concern is the finite war and the infinite war. So Simon Sinek and many other people talk about this, where it's like we got to know the game we're playing or know the game the enemy is playing too. And so us, like we're talking about midterms, we're talking about 4-year the rest of the 4-year term right now, and then what happens after that. So we're very limited in our, call it, checkpoints on the timetable on the years to come, whereas someone like, or a country like China, like Iran, they're like, we're good, we'll just start popping, put a new person in place, and they're just going to continue the thing, and we're going for this long-term thing, and we'll take a little bump here or there because we have this long-term vision, and not a lot of things are going to disrupt that unless it's this overwhelming force. One of those articles earlier, they're talking about Trump going after their nuclear stuff, and that's what kind of made the stock market get a little bit more stable. Because you knock out their nuclear things, and then it's like, okay, now you're hitting them where it really hurts. It's that pain point. What do you think, AK?
Yeah, so I think that there's two things that you have to understand: is every military action has an overall objective, right? Now, whether or not we're able to achieve that objective, that's to be foreseen, because we don't have the ability to know 100%. But that objective has to be completed. The second part is that you really can't tell everyone, like 100%, like what your objective is, because if everyone actually knows what you're trying to accomplish, then they can just plan against it. So it seems like, again, from my perspective, this is just another piece of the entire board of trying to reset the liberal economic order. But to your question, right, of like, what does that mean? Does that mean that we send boots on the ground and that we are deploying 50,000, men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces there? I don't think that's what it looks like, because that doesn't necessarily accomplish our objectives and our goals. I think our objectives so far have been take out their nuclear program, like no matter what. And I think that we weren't as successful there as we originally thought that we were. But again, you really can't come out and say that, because if you say that, then it kind of gins up a bunch of the people in the Middle East that want to, basically fund that thing to make sure that they can enrich more nuclear material so they can create some bombs. Number two, though, is I think that we realize that because we weren't as certain as our intel looked like it was, that we completely decimated their nuclear program, then it's like, okay, the second best thing is we're going to decimate their ballistic missile program. Now, there is the bad side is that they've prepared for this. They're going to hide all of their ballistic stuff deep in the mountains. And if they hide all of their ballistic stuff deep in the mountains, in order for us to penetrate, I mean, we're going to have to drop some significantly higher, yields of explosives. But if we are successful, then it doesn't matter really, to be honest, if they continue to have a radical Islamic leader, because they won't have the fire ability, the fire capacity, the munition capacity, the weapon capacity to truly do what harms our interests. So that's really the gambit. If Trump can remove this piece from the board, he will have done what no one else could do. And because of that, we are able to freely move in that area for our own interests. But if we fail, like so many have failed before, I mean, listen, Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan hate Iran. Okay, like they have wanted to stop them, but they can't, because it's this giant mountainous region, and it's very difficult. But if we can somehow find a way to make it work, then, like I said, Trump's going to seem like the greatest military leader, commander in modern history. And if it fails, it's going to be like, yeah, we told you, man, this is why you don't go after Iran. So
It will
I
make
hope
the
that
deal
kind of
better for
answers your question,
Greenland
that it
too.
doesn't really matter who the leader is if we're able to stop their capacity to commit large amounts of atrocities. If they're just a rogue terrorist state, then fine, but that's not what they are. They have a giant military, a navy, and a ballistic missile program. That's why they've been a threat to us. So
It is important that it
My
is,
only
it does make
pushback
high
is I
impact.
believe they don't have a navy anymore. I'm pretty sure we sunk all of their navy.
I mean, now, yeah, but I'm saying
Well,
before,
that's the thing.
yeah.
They're taking out key pieces like a chessboard. You're knocking out pawns and bishops and king, these different things in order to get to the bigger objective. And so it is very interesting to me now that I know a lot more tactics, I know a lot more strategy, and I'm just seeing it from a different perspective. It's pretty wild. Yeah, AK, I was going to say that if this does work, like you were saying, it would make the deal better for getting Greenland too. And so now you got Panama, you got Greenland, you got the Strait of Hormuz, you got all these things, and it makes us a
Venezuela.
lot stronger. Venezuela, it makes us stronger against China.
And then we take Canada, the golden egg.
As a
We
territory,
own North
right?
America.
Think of
Not
what'll
as a
happen to our
51st.
Waffle House chains if we get all that maple syrup. I'm just saying.
Oh,
But
that'd be amazing.
all right, on that note, let's shift
I want a better
gears
Super
here,
Troopers
guys.
movie.
There, exactly. Great topics, guys. Great back and forth. I like when we don't agree on everything, and I like that unlike the left, we can disagree without calling each other fat or dumb or bald or whatever. Not
Well, I'm
projecting
all
at
those things. So fat, dumb, and bald. Think about that. I'm a
Not,
trifecta.
not at all. John, you're the guest this evening, and we want to get to know you a little bit better. We want our viewers to get to know you a little bit better. So, kind of, you and I, we met at AmFest. We met at the influencer party that AK was kind enough to let me be his +1 to.
Right before that, he interviewed you on the AmFest floor, right?
Did I? Did we? I think we might have.
Mhm.
I think you did. I think you did, actually. Yeah, because we ran into each other after that, I believe. Yeah.
It's a wild couple
So-
days. I told these guys.
Yeah, it
going
was-
into
it was
Well,
a- it was
AK
a-
knew.
it was a
I told
madhouse.
David. I told Dave go into it. It's like do whatever you can because it's going to be a quick 4 days.
I think I slept maybe 4 hours that weekend.
Yeah.
And AK didn't seem like he slept at all. Every time I looked over at him, he was on his phone doing something. It was crazy.
Yeah, man, I'm a 4-hour a night sleeper. So, I mean, it's kind of like I don't sleep because whatever, I'm busy doing
Same.
stuff.
Absolutely. So, John, we met at AmFest. You told me a little bit about what you're about there, and then we kept in touch over Instagram. I wanted to have you on the show so we could kind of talk to you a little bit. So you're part of this organization. You were telling me before we went live. So kind of give everybody your backstory a little bit. What do you do? Where are you from? And how did you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 20 years old, graduated just a couple years ago, and Christianity is very important to me. It guides everything I do. That's a pretty recent development. A couple years ago, I was going to my first year of college. I couldn't care less, but somehow, for some reason, God just brought me to my knees, broke my heart, and I gave my life to Christ going on 2 years ago now. Immediately after that, and it was a pretty wild experience. The Holy Spirit moved into me and made it clear I had to drop out of college and go into full-time missionary work, which was like one of the most terrifying decisions of my life. But canceled all of my spring classes, and just through divine providence, got involved with the pro-life organization. and I've been working with them ever since. I really think abortion is not only the greatest evil of our generation, but it's also reflective of every other evil. That the disdain for the image of God and the disdain for innocence is what drives every evil in society and in culture, like throughout history.
That's awesome. Hey, I wanted to ask you. So, I'm a hardcore pro lifer. I believe that because God gives us this beautiful thing called a life, the idea that you would say, oh, well, this life has lesser value, so therefore, because the quality of their life is not so good, they have lesser value, so we can like snuff it out. That's been something that's been very, very strong for me. I've made a bunch of videos, whether we were talking about the idea in Minnesota, where we allowed abortion up until the moment of birth. We enshrined it and codified it in our state legislature. When you had Colorado with their decision saying like, hey, what is a person? Let's remove the identity of a person from an unborn baby and all these different things. But I'm curious, at your age, you're 20, and you just said that, you gave your life to Christ, and amen to that, brother. But as a 20-year-old man, like, do you find that a lot of people second guess your motive or intention because they'll say, well, you're young and you're a man. How dare you? I'm just kind of curious what your perspective has been as you've now got involved, and you're really doing a lot of amazing things, it sounds like, in order to be able to help protect life, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, the divide on both sides. So on the left, in the pro-choice movement, everybody accuses me of just wanting to control women's bodies, right? Which is ridiculous. Abortion benefits men too. It allows them to have consequence-free sex with whoever they want. In all the Epstein file stuff that's coming out, it's pretty clear that abusers used abortion to hide the evidence of their crimes. And yet, if you're a man in the pro-life movement, you're accused of wanting to control women's bodies, being misogynist. That's just the way it is. But the interesting thing is that most of the modern pro-life movement is women. Something like 70% of the people I meet that are actively involved in pro-life ministry are women. Most of my team is women, right? So it's really interesting, the kind of divide that you see there.
Yeah, the
I was going to say that
comment,
gives
I guess. Yeah, I'll just go
credibility to
real
us
quick.
talking about. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, no problem. We're going same time. But yeah, they often say that there's no other option, and there is. There's planning. Obviously, everybody's different, but the four things that kind of kicked into my mind was abstinence, contraception. I can't remember all the four, but like, adoption is one, and pregnancy, and just going forward. And when you show that there are more options there, and especially when I know when women see like the ultrasound, the 3D ones right now, it changes the whole idea. Do you bounce around those ideas in your conversations?
We do, yeah. So there's two main focuses that my team and I do. So survivors of the abortion Holocaust, the idea being that everyone born after Roe v. Wade is a survivor of America's Holocaust. We do a lot of activism, so we've shut down abortion clinics, we've done undercover investigations, stuff like that. But on the personal and individual ends, we also do campus outreach. So just today, actually, I was at Cal Poly Pomona here in California, showing victim image abortion signs, having conversations with the students there, and trying to shift the culture, towards the gospel and towards the pro-life message. And yeah, it's crazy how many people don't realize that they have any other option, right? And that's one thing my team and I try to do, is be there to be that other option. We offer free counseling, medical care, therapy. We've put food on the table for people. We've paid families rent in need. We offer everything you need to have that child and to go through with that pregnancy. So a large part of our ministry is just letting people know that, hey, there's people here that can help you, that care about you and care about your child.
That's
Yeah, I wanted
incredible. And
to
that's where
ask.
that work
No, go
really
ahead, David. You
belongs.
go.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's incredible, and that's really where that work belongs. With the church, the less government we have doing things like just all of that, anything family based. I think the better off the country will be. I also appreciate you talking about the statistics of females involved in the pro life movement, because that gives a lot of credibility to us here, because we're four dudes talking about this the day after Women's Day. So it's good that you could give us some credibility, because I'm sure, if people clip this, they're gonna be like, look at these four entitled men talking about the right to life and controlling people and whatever else they're gonna frame it as.
Well, I can say when you become a father, you have a say in it, and
Oh,
I'm glad
100%.
I I was there at the birth, and the other spots too, and it's like you said, John, earlier, like dads don't need to have a say because you're involved. It takes two to tango, and just imagine. I can't imagine myself not having a say in my possible child, and everything that comes with that.
Well, what's so tragic is that so many men we meet on campus will tell us the exact opposite, that they just want to be hands off. It's the woman's body, it's her choice. And really, I think it comes down to moral cowardice. That's perhaps the pervading theme of my generation, I think. There's definitely a move towards Christianity. A lot of young men and young women are standing up for what's right. But on the other side, on the leftist and the secular side, so much moral cowardice and so many people that just don't want to take accountability for their actions.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating. I'm curious about your perspective on this, John. Again, because like I'm a pro-life, like across the board, man, and because of that, because again, I believe that God gives us this one precious life, and that we should live it and try and honor Him, and trying to bring as many other people with us as possible to the salvation of Jesus. And so I think what I find is that there's this interesting dynamic, right? And there's a really good pollster for Rasmussen Reports. His name is Mark Mitchell. And Rich Barris also does some really good polling. And they've kind of, throughout the years, they've asked this question over and over about people's like moral worldview. And like surprisingly, what they find on a pretty consistent basis is somewhere around like 70% of the United States believes that Jesus Christ is the Son of God who died for us. 70%. But then when you ask them about where their morality lies, only about 19% of them are like, yeah, I'm against abortion, like 100% totally. And so I think it's fascinating. And I'm curious from your perspective, do you think that it's because there's people that like culturally feel like they're Christians, but like they actually don't apply the teachings of Christ to their actual life? Like, it's like, well, I believe that Jesus is this, but I don't necessarily need to apply those morals and values. And do you run into that? Or is that, not, or do you feel that when you share the message of Jesus, that it's more likely to open people to like wanting to not abort their child? I'm just kind of curious your perspective since you're out there in the field, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the law of God is written on man's heart, right? And so, in some spiritual way, I think everybody recognizes the authority and the power of Jesus, right? And that's why so many people like to profess that they're Christians. But so often, when I'm having these conversations on campus, people will use the Christianity card as a way to pull the moral high ground. And what they'll say is, oh, well, I'm a Christian. In fact, I'm a better Christian than you because I don't hate women. And if they want to kill their babies, well, I think they should do what's best for them. And they'll use Christianity, even though they don't fully understand it, to try to justify their own beliefs. And that is always such a struggle to come up against. But every time that I encounter somebody like that, it's just a shell of Christianity. They have no understanding of theology or metaphysics or the history of the faith. It's simply a way to take the moral high ground because our culture is based on the West and based on Christianity. And so often when you truly bring in faith and truly help people start to understand what sin is and start to understand how good God is, you can see their perspective shifting in real time. Because so many people that claim to be Christians nowadays, I mean, I'm sure you guys have encountered this. People will claim to be Christians, and yet their hearts have never been touched by Christ. The Bible says even the demons believe and they shudder, right?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
the key, right? You just said it, right? So when that question is asked and like, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? They're like, yeah, but they don't actually truly in their heart be like,
Right.
this was the Son of God and he loves me unconditionally, like all these different things. Like, so they can say like, yeah, this is a thing, but they don't actually believe it. And I think that that's so fascinating. So for you, have you encountered with James Tallarico, obviously winning, the Texas Senate primary, and he's came out as this guy that's like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I believe that, abortion actually is something that Jesus believes in. Have you seen an uptick in that type of very, in my opinion, demonic, warped interpretation of actually what Christ's promise is to us? Have you seen an uptick in that?
100%. Yeah. And what's so interesting is it's pretty equivalent, I think, to the uptick in Christianity too. So, as the left is starting to lose its hold on the secular realm, I mean, Gen Z is like one of the most religious generations in a long time, and that trend just keeps going up. So, as people are converting to Christianity, the left and those that are pro-abortion, that support killing children, yeah, of course they're grasping onto that. And so every day I see more and more people using that argument against us, trying to say that I'm a better Christian because I believe in abortion. But it's so devoid from their actual practice and from their hearts. And one thing I've noticed too is that there so many people are lacking in love for themselves, right? And that's one thing. In order to love Christ, you have to love yourself. You start to understand that you are made in God's image. If you don't truly love God, then it's very difficult to truly love yourself. And I was talking to a girl on a college campus at UCR a little while back, and this just totally opened my eyes. That I walked her through all the logical arguments for why life starts at conception. And she agreed with me. She said, yeah, I totally see what you're talking about. Abortion is murder, and I don't care. And I asked her, I was like, what are you talking about? How could you say that you don't care about these innocent lives being taken? And she just looked me straight in the eyes and said, well, I don't care about my own life. She was suicidal and depressed and hated herself. And so obviously she couldn't care about anyone else because she couldn't care about her own life. And there's this apathy that is just pervading our generation and our culture. And so often in these conversations, I'll just try to make a point of saying, hey, the unborn are valuable and you are too. Just like I love you and I care about you and I want the best for you, so too do I want the best for your unborn brothers and sisters. So more often than not, a huge part of these conversations is just convincing people that they matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fallout of the distracted age, the technology age, where we don't really have connections anymore, and people don't feel, they don't feel their value from those around them, and and they don't have a sense of purpose, and they distract themselves from not having that with, your hours on TikTok, you're scrolling on Instagram or Facebook, right? They literally call it doom scrolling, and that's exactly what it is. Is you're wasting all of this time, and you're signing yourself up for emotional doom, possibly physical, doom. I mean, it's a very apt name, and that's you do see that kind of everywhere. And what's crazy is it's even affecting the older generations that, we knew what it was like, we knew what life was like before cell phones and before all this technology, and yet we're still falling into that trap ourselves. And you see it even with people my age, and I'm sure AK, you see it with people your age. Not that we're not almost the same age.
We're close enough.
I throw a jab at AK every couple episodes now that I know he's the oldest one here.
I am old man River.
That's interesting.
I did want to ask. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, just gonna, like I said, one of those 4 of those things is adoption. So, like you said about that woman that didn't love herself and loving somebody else, just to know that even if that's true, there is families out there. There's so many that either can't have children, one either the mother or the the father, the husband or the wife or kind of what have you, that are trying to have children and that they can't. And then there's love out there for these children. And I don't mind sharing this. I told these guys, and I posted on X that I don't know if I put that, but I am adopted, and my adopted mother passed away a week ago, and she couldn't have children, and she made it, did whatever she could, made sure everything was in line with my father and their jobs and everything, did all the work, saved all the money, and went through I'm not going to say it, but went through religious organizations to get this happen where they could adopt me. And I can't, like, I would have been, I could highly have been aborted and I wouldn't be here today without adoption and the family that I have. So it's close to home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
adoption is
absolutely.
such a
I
beautiful
100%
thing.
with you on that because, that's one of the things you and I have in common is the adoption story. I mean, obviously I was from the third world, so I mean, they have abortion in the third world. It's infinitely worse than what we have here. Not that what we have here is any better. Um, but yeah, 100% adoption changes lives. And I can say, just looking at my own parents, they chose to adopt three children to complete their family. And I have eight nieces and nephews now. It's just we got our own football team. You know what I mean? My sister's going to retire on somebody's ACLs. I'll tell you what, she's got a bunch of kids. They're all athletes. It's great. But, but yeah, I would, my life would be, I wouldn't be here. And be, how more empty would my life be without that adoption and the children and the family that came out of that? So I 100% with you on that, Drew. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm curious, John. As your mission specifically, what is, if there are, what is like your ultimate goal or handful of goals that you're trying to accomplish when you're out there, whether you're on campuses or doing outreach? Is it to educate and even sometimes connect with resources? I'm just kind of curious, like what your overall objective is when you're out there.
Yeah. Well, my dream is to see a day in America where abortion is just unthinkable. So we try to attack that on two fronts. The first is changing the culture, right? And we do that through education, apologetics, reaching people where they're at and really trying to shift people's perspective. So, campus outreach is the biggest way that we do that. We also do sidewalk counseling too outside of abortion facilities. But the law is a teacher too, and so we work on the legal side of things in the activism area too. Right now, my team's working on a campaign to shut down a new abortion clinic coming into Fontana, California. A little bit before that, we were up in South Carolina. It's a pro-life state for the most part, but they effectively had a abortion black market there, where minors were being like taken across the border without parental consent. So we sent somebody in undercover to get information on that, broke the story, and it ended up leading to uh, perhaps the shutting down of the organization that was engaging that. So we fight this on a lot of fronts, but our goal is to end abortion in America and to save souls for the kingdom of God. And we try to use every single tool at our disposal to make that happen.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and I'm curious. Is there a way for people to be able to get connected with your service? Like, let's say in Minnesota, is there kind of like, I don't know, like an affiliate group that exists, or another way to kind of, I guess if someone's interested in doing what it is that you're doing or getting connected with your organization, is that available like on a state by state basis, or just kind of curious how that works with your group?
Yeah,
And
for
real
sure.
quick, John, can you move your mic closer?
Oh, yeah. I had to plug in my computer and unplug my mic because I was on low battery. So sorry
Okay.
if the audio is a little bit off. Can you
No,
guys
you're
hear me?
fine.
We'll roll with it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So right now we have three teams going, one here in Southern California, one up in San Francisco, and one in DC. So if you guys are in the area around there, feel free to hit us up at the Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust on all platforms, or you can reach out to my personal page too. It's JAY_ROWL. But we also do campaigns all over the country where there's a need. We're always looking for new opportunity to do good. So, if you're somebody that sees a pressing need for activism, for outreach, for some immediate cause, feel free to reach out. We're definitely open to hosting campaigns in places that we don't have an official team there.
That's dope. Hey, I wanted to ask you too. So you're wearing an Ozzy Osbourne shirt. I see
Yeah.
that you have, it looks like a Megadeth poster in the back. What's that about, man?
Yeah, well, before I was a pro-life activist, I was a metalhead, and I like to think that I still am, despite all the people telling me that I can't like Metallica and be pro-life, which is something I get like every time I wear a band shirt on campus. But no, I think metal music is a powerful thing, right? Just for me personally, and maybe that's corny to say, but I think so much of modern Christianity has been just watered down and it's become soft. And so I like the edge that metal gives me, especially Christian metal. if you guys need any recommendations for good bands, there's some killer Christian
I was
stuff.
gonna say that I've heard some good Christian metal, but I feel like you've got the playlist. So hit us with a couple of
Yeah.
artist recommendations. What do you got?
Yeah, well, if you like the real extreme stuff, Ancestor, Via Dolorosa, it's the Path of the Cross. One of my favorite Christian metal songs of all time. It's about picking up your cross and following Christ. But my favorite band's probably is going to be Wrath of the Lamb. Sorry, Wrath of the Lamb is the album. The Nazarites are the band, and it's a real kind of corny classic rock style. I'm big into classic rock metal band, so if you like that kind of thing, check out Wrath of the Lamb.
You know what I love about
Really,
that,
I
John?
like it.
It's like this like you ultimately have to be able to impact culture. And so like one of the things I think Christians have been so bad at, like I control the music that I listen to, right? And I've decided that with a lot of the music that I listen to, I listen to Christian music. I love rock, I love hip hop, and a lot of Christian artists. But listen, I still like mainstream artists, and I can find the value in those songs. And I just think one of the things that we've done a lot is like you distance yourself so far away that you can't actually connect with people that they think you're a weirdo, or like you don't understand like what culture is. So obviously this podcast, Culture Warriors, it's like we want to impact culture. We do impact culture, and that's the best way to actually convince people. So it's like, yes, you can support being pro-life and believing that abortion is murder, abortion is homicide, and believe that and be like, but I still understand, like I live in this world and I understand things that people want to enjoy, and I'm not gonna like just basically crap over everything that you believe in. So I think that's super dope, man.
Yeah, it is. It's a good
Especially
point
Ozzy
because
Osbourne and Megadeth, dude, that's super cool.
hell yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Because yeah, two things can be I know. And then I throw that out there. I got the metal going and then I just kind of roll with it. Two things can be true at the same time. Like you can have your culture and have your faith and everything like that. And because yeah, the biggest thing that gets me is when you could tell somebody is being manipulative or whatever when they use your own faith or something else that your values say against you. They're like, you can't do this because you also think this, and they guess at something that's something you believe in, and they don't believe in it themselves. And yeah, I can see that tactic more and more now, and it's so deceitful. And yeah, I hope you have some strategies at that. I'm sure you come across it when people try to use that against you.
Yeah.
Well, and the incredible thing, I just looked this up. Ozzy Osbourne was a Christian before he passed away. His son
Yep.
talked about it a
That
whole
usually
bunch.
happens, especially
Yeah.
in your old age.
And the cool thing,
Here's a
I
fun
actually
fact.
like this. I don't, culturally speaking, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but there are certain artists you can actually look at the trajectory of their music and the styles they're writing in, right? And you can see the kind of like the evolution of their life, or the going from being this, selfish, self-absorbed party rock star life to then, looking for something true in the world, right? Or true within themselves, or true within faith. And it's incredible. Like you see some of Kanye's music from like the very like early stuff into like later where you can clearly tell he's looking for something. And even Taylor Swift, with some of her music, most of it's nonsense, but she had that one song recently where she's questioning, am I the bad guy in this story, right? And it's cool to see that. And the only way you get to notice these sorts of things is when you participate in culture.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Have you
the
guys
whole
listened to
Aussie
rap?
thing. It was funny because yeah, I've been through my rounds at the Mayo Clinic down in Rochester in Minnesota, and I would have these drivers. I couldn't get there, so I had a driver that I used, a Uber, and he goes, yeah, he's like, just to let you know, I had Ozzy Osbourne in here a week ago in the same spot that you're in. I'm like, no way, and he's like, yes, like the Mayo Clinic gets people from all over, obviously Ozzy and you know probably has places in America, but coming from overseas. And he mentioned, Princess Di, all these different people that, and he said they talked about faith while they're getting these extreme medical procedures getting taken care of. And then you saw it last year, Ozzy passing away, and yeah, and like they say, there's no atheist in a foxhole.
You're gonna say something, John.
Oh, yeah, well, it's just a little story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the band Wasp at all. Yeah, it's like a old kind of classic metal band. It was an acronym. It stood for
What do you
We
mean
Are.
old?
Before my time, old.
Good answer.
Old enough that I figured you guys would be fans. No, it's stood
What it
for
stand for?
We Are Sexual Perverts. That was the name of the band. It was totally hedonistic, like really terrible, good music, but terrible stuff, right? Until about 20 years ago, I think, when the lead guitarist, he went by Blackie Lawless, had a radical conversion to Christianity. Right after that, he writes Golgotha with the band. So now We Are Sexual Perverts is playing one of the most just incredible, soulful, repentant songs about Christ's mercy, like on stage. So it's really incredible to see the trajectory of some of these people and how God can transform lives. And yeah, I think art is so huge. Anything that has true beauty draws us closer to God, I think, because beauty itself is a manifestation of God's nature. So I really think it's important for Christians to be a part of culture and to proclaim beauty and participate in it. And I appreciate you guys for doing that too on the show.
Yeah, man. I mean, like the thing is for me, right, is I was I was first born again when I was like 9 or 10. Went to a non-denominational Pentecostal church, learned about the works of the Spirit, and then we actually had a revival. Billy Graham came, and then we actually put on like a month long of Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames plays, and had like this huge revival festival thing back in like the mid to late 90s. And then also in my hometown, we had a Bible camp, Lakewood Park Bible Camp, and I went to some pretty strong Holy Spirit driven conferences, and then I kind of had this relationship that would go back and forth. Like I'd be really dedicated. I'd be one of those kids who was like, see you at the pole used to be a thing. You would actually go to your flagpole every morning and you'd pray, and like you were like the Christian group. And then I'd fall away, man, and I'd be smoking weed, drinking alcohol, hanging out with my buddies. Like I did this back and forth thing basically from like age 10 to like 17, basically before I turned 18, where I would just go this back and forth. And I think that it wasn't until I truly had a better grasp of like understanding, I was trying to force myself to just block out everything. And I think what that did for me, especially as like a teenager, is it was like it's either all or none. And the all part should be I'm all in love with Jesus, and that's my goal, not to just be like either I have to live this perfect life, and it's like, no, man, we all fall short of the glory. Now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't hold yourself to a standard and be honest and pray, but it also doesn't mean that like you have to try and act like you're more pious than the other person. And I think that again, that's what so many Christians get wrong. If you think that being pious is how you convert and help spread the word of Jesus Christ, I will tell you, you will fail, because people will think that they're not worthy because they're like, oh, well, you're a holy person, man. Jesus only loves the holy people. And that's what people will start to think. And it's like, no, he loves all of you, even if you're doing like just you've made these mistakes. The question is, are you willing to accept Jesus? And if you really do believe Jesus and you love yourself, you will see that change. And then you don't want to do the bad things anymore. And when you do have these moments, you fall to him and you lay all of these struggles and your grief and your sorrow at the feet of Jesus. And that's when you truly understand, like, oh, that's what this is all about. It's not about being perfect, because no one can be perfect. It's not about being without sin, because we are going to sin. It's just about falling back to like, I'm going to lay it on Jesus. I'm going to read scripture. I'm going to go to my church and have a community to connect with when I do mess up. And that's truly what this has always been about. And I think that the mission work that you guys are doing sounds like you guys understand that, especially with this young generation, these Zoomers that our society, man, has really fallen so much into, like, in my opinion, the demonic realm. So I'm curious, from your perspective, do you have just a couple of stories? Obviously, you don't need to, dox anyone's privacy, but a couple of really good stories that our audience can hear of things that you were able to accomplish. And by you, I mean Jesus, but like using you or those around you in your organization. I'm just kind of curious. I think it's always cool to hear about that.
Like success stories.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, well, last summer we worked on a campaign up in DC. So I don't know if you guys have heard about the Justice for the Five scandal at all. Yeah, it's a couple years ago. A few friend of mine were sidewalk counseling outside of Planned Parenthood in DC,
Oh, really? Yeah.
and they found a box while they were there. There was this truck pulled up, started loading in biohazard boxes, and obviously they knew what was inside. So they asked if they could take one. And by the grace of God, this guy, the worker there, let them take one of these boxes, which is just insane, right? It's a crazy violation of protocol, but he let them, right? They got home, they unboxed it, and what they found was 115 dead babies, five of which were nearly full term, and many of those five showed evidence of being partial birth abortions. So that's an illegal procedure in which birth is induced, and halfway through that process, you kill the baby, right? All those children were given names and prayed for and buried. Big scandal, right? And this happened at a Planned Parenthood that was already infamous. They had, in 20 years, they accumulated like 20 malpractice cases, so that's at least one a year. There's a wrongful death lawsuit after they botched the procedure so bad that a woman died from it. One of the most infamous facilities in America here. And last year, my team found out that their license was up for renewal. And so we decided that was the time to strike. We organized a month-long campaign up in DC, and we just threw everything that we had at it. So we had an activist house there. There were probably 20 people there that spent the month working on this campaign there. We protested like constantly outside the building. We did community outreach with the locals there to inform them. We worked with the local DC government and asked them to take action against this corrupt facility. We even did some stuff I'm not quite at liberty to divulge, but investigative work on that end. And through that whole process of putting pressure on them consistently and just doing everything we can, stepping out in faith, by the grace of God, for the first time in over 30 years, that clinic is no longer killing babies. In fact, they're officially closed now up in DC.
Amen, man.
hmm Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what
That's
it is.
incredible.
They finally did them in, but it's a effort of just doing everything we could, right, and trusting God to do the rest. And like I said, right now we're working on something similar in Fontana, California.
So, like, when it comes to where a lot of your guys' support comes from, is it the best way to share your content? Is it donations? What are the ways that people can help support the work that you're doing? Just being like, I don't have the capacity or ability or even time or desire to go and do exactly what you do. Let's say that that's your mindset. What can people do to help your organization, man?
Yeah, well, following us on all platforms is nice, but for me personally, myself and all the other individuals on my team are personally funded by a support team that keeps me doing this each month. So it's not exactly that I'm really paid to do this work, it's that people provide for my needs so that I don't have to be stuck working another job, that I can dedicate myself fully to this cause. And so if you guys feel moved by this, if you want to support the cause and support me personally, there's a link in my bio on Instagram. You can check it out, or you can DM me, reach out on, whatever platform you're on, and we can get in touch. But in order to keep doing this work, I do need to be personally funded by people who support me each month. So if you want to help me out with that, get in touch.
It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Awesome.
That's awesome. We look forward to being a part of that journey with you in the future, and obviously having you on the show again. This has been a fantastic time. But we hit some heavy stuff. We are a blend of nonsense and serious conversations here on this channel. So you and I, because we follow each other on Instagram, we talked about it before the show. You have this fantastic clip. Now I'll tell you what about this guy that I like. He does not back down from a challenge, even when that challenge is twice his size. And you have a clip. You sent it to AM. AM, if you could prep this, John. Tell the viewers what we're looking at here. Do you want to play the video first, or do you want to talk about it first?
Yeah, I'll just give the rundown real quick of the
Okay,
context
absolutely.
there. Yeah, so we were at the Super Bowl doing outreach there, and there just so happened to be an anti-ICE protest at the same day. So I went over to the protest just to, ask them some quick questions, point out what I thought were a couple of hypocrisies, and this was the result right here.
Hey guys, you guys protesting today? Yes. Oh, sweet. Well, all right, if I ask you a couple quick questions while you're here? Sweet. It's just social media, just my personal page. So it's called J Rowell because my name is John Rowell. So I took the J and then the last name J Rowell, right? Yeah. Oh man, you guys are gonna love me. So here's my question for you. You all support the rights of illegal foreigners in America, right? Do you support the rights of legal American children in the womb? No?
I will be sending this to you. You guys are against violence. You're not against violence. What's your name, man?
White-wing piece of shit.
Go home.
Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets.
Well, you guys are very reasonable.
Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets?
No?
Yeah, that's a big boy, man. Put his
Fantastic.
hands. Yeah.
That was incredible.
It's assault, brother.
Hey, I saw you push, man. You tried, but that's a mountain of a very fat pro-Palestinian to push around, man.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's just a lot of tofu stuck together. He'd have won.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know if you guys
That guy
know the
hasn't seen
background
real
of it.
protein. Like we were talking about protein earlier. Full circle moment. That guy hasn't seen real protein ever in his life. It's full of microplastics and tofu. Soy lattes.
I am
What'd
kind
you
of
learn
curious,
from that,
John. Since since Charlie Kirk's assassination, we've had a lot of Turning Point USA folks here. Obviously, we went to America Fest, where Drew and I had a chance to actually chat with each other. Was basically through politics and through actually Turning Point USA, I think had a lot to do with it. Obviously, Tim Pool too. But have you seen an uptick in people's either violent words or actions just in the last year?
100%, yeah, and I mean the statistics bear that out too, that left-wing violence is on the rise, but just anecdotally, yeah, I've seen it quite a bit, and honestly, I think, like everything, it's ultimately spiritual in nature, that because Christianity is on the rise, and because so many more people are standing up for what's right and what's true, the dark side of things is lashing out at that. We see a lot of people on campus that I don't know if I quite want to say possessed, but that are clearly being influenced by something that isn't just their own personal feelings, that get aggressive and get angry. And I think that reaction is directly proportional to the rise of Christianity and the amount of good that's happening in America.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. What I often say, and this makes people upset on X, is when I see someone that is like demonically, in my opinion, either oppressed, and I think that there's a whole lot of demonic oppression going on, or just straight up possessed. I'll call it out, and people get real like, oh, I was with you until you had to mention demons. I'm like, brother, demonic oppression is a thing, and it is very, very prevalent. And like you said, it's this pushback that occurs when you do have this revival that has been occurring, especially amongst our young. I mean, when you see that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are more interested in these things, and you're starting to see like just alcohol consumption rates drop, and you see that people are becoming more in touch with the idea of like, okay, there's this figure named Jesus and all this different stuff, and even like the spirituality thing, which I hate that term because spiritual means absolutely nothing to me, but I care about Christianity. But ultimately you start to see that. But yeah, man, demonic oppression and possession, I think it's important that people understand, because that's really what's at play here, man. And I'll make some people uncomfortable, but that's what I see.
Yeah, well, it sounds like
That's a good way to describe it. It really is. Yeah. John, I was just adding on to that. Just what did you learn from that experience? Just even more. What would you do differently, I guess, in that situation?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, that video worked out pretty well for me, actually. So I don't know if there's anything I specifically change.
Hit the gym maybe a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Get some more protein in you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely reminded me that I gotta work on my fitness a bit. But no, it's guys like that, they're more bark than they are bite, right? So if anything, gave me a little more confidence, you know?
Listen, you can put the testosterone in Old Testament, all right? You've got it within you. All right. Just saying.
Yeah, man, Samson was a beast. He was a beast.
Well, we'll be able to cut my hair, though, and I think this is pretty good length, so I don't know.
Excellent.
I don't even know where to go
Growing
from
it
that.
up.
All right. So, do we have a little bit of time, guys? Do you want to cover
We
one
can talk
more
about some
story?
robots. Yeah,
Or-
I got a robot we can talk about.
All right. Is it AK's robot that we've been
No,
praising
it's
for the last 6
it's a
episodes?
reading robot.
Oh, all right. Lead us into that, Drew. What's going on with your reading robot? Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, people
I
are
heard that,
getting
and all I heard was the
lazy.
Reading Rainbow
We're
song.
using AI a lot more, and now we know it. So I don't know how much influence, I guess, AI and robots have been writing, I guess, in the last 5 or 10 years. But the question is, are we going to get sick of it? So I like this AIDR. It's a joke on the TLDR. Too long didn't read, but now it's AI didn't read. So it's like these writers, that are getting paid these, 50,000, 100,000, maybe $500,000 in Hollywood. Now it's a writer's room to make this, death by committee or writing by committee. It's just like, how much are they even using their own creativity, if they even do, or if they were hired, based on lack of, not their creative, more of attributes, I guess you would say. And so now, if they're just using AI, are people, are humans, are us even gonna want to read it all? Because a lot of people nowadays, maybe AK, you have more experience with this, a lot of people are using AI to be like, hey, did AI write this? And then we're able to make this decision. Do we even want to kind of read this thing? So I'll read this first paragraph. AI slop is big word,
Ubiquitous.
ambiguous. Thank you. And everywhere, anytime you try to read something, from a restaurant review to a social media comment to a blog post, there's a good chance it was written by AI. Many would argue that it is someone didn't care enough to write something. Why should you even care to read it? But yeah, what do you think, guys? Are we getting out of the point where, are we even need to read something? And the whole idea that, like, it's just in the title. Are people reading the whole article? I myself, I'm trying to read more. I'm reading magazines. People send me stuff in the mail. I'm trying to actually use my mind and my creativity rather than just soaking up. I do soak up videos, but I'm trying to actually read words and kind of teach my son that as well.
I have a hot take and I have a rant when it comes to this. All right. This is all just fallout from our generation. We let people get away with sending LOL, and we just got lazier and lazier. And now here we are. Nobody's even writing things anymore. We're not even really reading it, right? We open an article and we say, AI program on my phone. Give me a synopsis of what this is. Give me the bullet points, right? We have college students doing their homework with it. We got high school students using AI to do their homework, and it's just, I blame it on me and AK's generation with those old phones that you had to flip open. You press 6 times to get to R, right? And so we got lazy and we just sent LOL, and that's why we're here. That's my unhinged rant on this.
Dude, I remember, okay, when that came out, right? And what is that called again? Like there's literally
Oh, that QWERTY or something like that. That one.
yeah, like the QWERTY keyboard or whatever. And I remember when people were first doing it, I'm like, no, this ain't gonna be a thing. And then remember, there was like, I can't remember which carrier. It's either T-Mobile or AT&T,
Sidekick.
where it's like IDK, my BFF gel. Remember that?
Yep, I
IDK,
do.
my BFF gel. And people are like, oh, people aren't gonna really talk like that. And it's like, yeah, no, I mean that's what people did. And then, like you said, I think that AI is, like, you can tell when people are just being lazy about it. The real scary thing is when people aren't being lazy and they use it to actually generate more robust conversation without actually grasping the material. That's the scary thing. And I think that that's kind of where we're heading, is The lazy AI users are the ones that are like, write me a paper about this, and they don't even look at it, and then they just turn it in, and they have zero subject matter. The one that's more scary, people that have a little bit of matter, so they can just use it as like a con tool, so they can trick people into thinking that they're super, super smart. Which it's like, if you want to really know what someone's depth is, like tell them that they have to talk to you without using their phone, right? like in person, you can't. At that point, maybe you could have some device in your ear that's telling you exactly what to say in real time. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Man, that's what Fetterman had on the debates and stuff like that. He was using this thing where it would talk. He's like, it used to be a taboo to have an earpiece in while you're on a debate, and then they granted him access when he had his, medical issues and stuff going on. So he had this earpiece connected to like a teleprompter to all this, and then they even gave him like allowed to have like a delay, and then he's like able to answer. It was the weirdest thing ever, but his arc did come around. So Fetterman,
yeah, his arc is super dope.
Johnny, he's a Republican now, pretty much. Yeah.
Nah, I mean, I think he'll eventually turn. John, what do you?
In the middle.
He's in the middle. What do you think about this idea that AI, right, is like, it's just AI slop writing everyone's stuff, writing scripts. Just kind of curious your perspective, because like basically you've only grown up with technology. You don't even know what a world looks like without it, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even with that though, just in the last couple of years, I've seen a crazy revolution in technology. And that's coming from somebody who grew up with a lot of technology. So I think it's going to just radically reshape our society completely. I was looking at something the other day, actually. There's this program you can get that it's like an AI program that will create an avatar of you and then run your dating apps for you. So you can have your robot just like hitting on chicks online while you're doing whatever else you're doing.
I mean, that sounds a time saver.
Yeah. Listen,
Such a time saver.
very efficient.
Where do we sign up for that?
Yeah.
My parents are watching this. I'm going to get a message later. I know it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the problem though is when other people start using it too. And so now dating is just like two people's robots talking to each other. You don't even know who you're going to end up meeting with. It's freaking crazy.
It's the nightmare version of the You Got Mail movie.
Now, because you're 20, have you ever turned in a high school paper or project using AI? Because I feel like here's what's happening. Students are using AI to write their papers. Teachers are using AI to grade the paper. So it's just AI grading each other.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my last year at college, I probably never wrote a single paper myself.
Fair.
Yeah, everything was just like AI tweaked slightly.
It is wild. I was in college, whatever it was, 2007 to 2010, and it was wild. Like they had us writing 15, 30-page papers, and like my hands are killing it. And I did all I can to put in my, opinions based on bibliography, all these sources, and you can't use Wikipedia and all this. And it's like you get done with a 30-page paper that you're typing out yourself, and it's insane. So I can't even imagine how people are doing it nowadays of just like shortening it. But yeah, my question is like, I know my generation, the three of us on the panel here, it's just like we're more in. Well, this is a long form podcast. I listen to a ton. I listen to Patrick Bet David, Tim Pool, all these, even like more independent and leftists as well, or liberals or whatever they call them, just to get the whole perspective. And I don't mind listening to things while I walk the dog or do whatever. But yeah, John, with TikTok and your generation and everything, do you guys dive into these long form and can you stand it, or are you doing that secondary viewing where you're also playing games and listening? You tell me, is the long form going to go away? Because I think as long as we have long form and we're actually having a back and forth conversation, then that will show that there's no AI here, right. Until there's an AI of me, I guess. But
yeah, no, that's a great question. For the record, I don't think you shouldn't use AI to cheat on your papers for ethical reasons, but also for pragmatical reasons because of that issue. That when we make everything so easy and so accessible, whether it's through like just instant dopamine hits on TikTok or using AI to read something that you don't actually want to read, what that does is that literally damages your brain. It lowers your patience and it makes it more difficult to think. So I think for a certain crowd, the long form content is disappearing. I don't want to throw out the term like NPC because I think that's overused a little bit, but that is a good way to describe it. Is there are a lot of people who just like to live the easy way without thinking for themselves, really, and coming to their own conclusions because that can be tricky sometimes, and it can be vulnerable too to put your own ideas out there. So for a certain kind of person, yeah, long form content is just totally off their radar. But for people that really care about truth, care about their own mental well-being, and care about the intellectual and the philosophical, I think long form content is always going to be important for them. So I don't see it disappearing anytime soon.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I was
Like,
going to
I
say
appreciate
Joe
that. I want to
Rogan's. I
keep
don't
this.
think Joe Rogan's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes me sad in all of this, though, is, you know, John, I don't know if you had this when you were coming up through school, but I remember being in like the early grades, like first, second, and third grade, and being able to talk about like the kids that were reading at an eighth grade level or a 10th grade level, and that stuff was aspirational. And I remember little backstory on your boy. When I was adopted, English is my second language, and I spoke more Spanish than English. So I actually had to do kindergarten twice, and my parents were told, that I might not amount to a whole lot, and I might have some learning disabilities because of the malnutrition of, being in the third world and, the lack of food and all of that. And if you look at my dating life, there's some truth to the disability claim, but, but I remember after repeating kindergarten so I could learn English, um, I remember how proud of me my parents were, particularly my mother. She got me into loving reading. That I was reading at like an eighth and 10th grade level by like third and fourth grade. And the thing with all of this AI that kind of it makes me sad to look at is that we're not gonna be like those aren't gonna be a metric we're bragging about with our kids anymore. Now it's gonna be like my kid's better at AI than your kid, or my kid can trick the
Got better
system
prompts.
because better prompts, better, yeah. And yeah, I think we need to get back to that. Like, my third grader is reading at a 10th grade level. I think that's a much better. It's going to be hard to get back to anything like that in the age of technology, but I think it's better. Um,
It's going to
you
be a
know,
combination, So if you can do technology, work with AI, be good at it, but also work at your own your humanity is what I'm going for, and the other things, the empathy and all the stuff that makes us kind of who we are, not only for our mind but also for our heart and the way we connect with people. We don't need to keep going into it, but yeah, John, you survived COVID education too, and all that. That's completely had an impact on multiple grades and a whole generation or more now as going through it. But yeah, it's definitely a topic that is going to be ongoing. So not only with this AI reading, but then AK's topic that we'll eventually someday get to with AI sex robots.
Yeah, you guys will have to
yeah,
bring me back to that.
yeah.
Someday it will happen. We'll see.
That's our Matt Damon bit, is that got bumped for time. But guys, it's been a great episode. I think AK, I think we popped off. He's been having tech issues. We've all been having tech issues. I had a microphone issue earlier. So yeah, it's been a good time. But coming up to the close of a fantastic episode, I feel like we covered a bunch of topics. In the chat, guys, let us know what your thoughts are on any of this. With the gas prices, with AI doing people's reading for them. Any questions you have for John,
Well,
throw them
real
in the
quick,
chat.
yeah, we did have
We'll make sure
one
to get
with
them sent
John.
over. Do we have a chat? Yeah, read it for
JON.
us.
Yeah, earlier. So on the abortion topic, is I see a need, but not because, but I like the old school saying safe, legal, and rare, with the emphasis on rare. And that's really interesting because like it was Hillary, and for sure I know, and Barack and people that was the thing, and until it changed, until the left went further, and then they had to keep going further. What do you think, John, on that?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting how safe, legal, and rare it became anytime, anywhere, for any reason, right? That's the slippery slope. That's once you start justifying the death of some children, sure, yeah, you can justify the death of any children. So I think it's a flawed premise to start out with, but
It's
especially
very
the safe
vague. It can be misinterpreted. Yeah.
well, it's just
Point.
self-defeating too. There's no such thing as a safe abortion because every abortion takes an innocent life. There's no way to do that safely.
Good point. But yeah, I'll start with mine. I am Drew Outstanding, and yeah, just out here surviving on X. Like I said, I don't mind sharing this. My mother, I call her my mother. My mom, I know her from birth, but she passed away this past week, and I can't thank everyone enough who gave me shout outs, followed, did all these things. I was hesitant, put it out there. I put it out there on other places for my personal friends and family, and it's one of those topics that we should talk more about. I was hesitant, but I'm just like, no, this is worth reaching out to and not keeping it inside me, and everybody's going to grieve in different ways, and I think this is my personality, and I thank everybody who reached out to me. On the other side, on YouTube, Operation Outstanding in Field, I'm still working on my adaptive sports, sit-down skiing, and I am going to go the distance. My favorite song from Disney, Hercules, another adopted kid, trying to make it. So, yeah, that's me. That's where you can catch me, X at Drew Outstanding, Operation Outstanding in Field on YouTube. And I'm enjoying this conversation. I grow as a person every time we have them.
Absolutely appreciate that, Drew. So real quick, AK had to drop out there, it looks like. So I'll just roll into his stuff. You can find him at Real AK Kamara on all platforms. And on TikTok, and Instagram, he's putting up these clips. He's at AK Kamara on TikTok, just talking about what's going on here in Minnesota, what's going on politically, policy wise. Every once in a while, he likes to throw out a little rage bait for the leftists. That's why he and I are such good friends. And go ahead and give him a follow. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you got anything out of it with your friends and family. You can find me at The Peruvian Gentleman on all of my social medias. And I'm doing the same thing, just staying involved in culture. You'll see me referencing a lot of things with faith and culture, whether it's Lord of the Rings based or Star Wars, where you can find spiritual truth in art, kind of like what John was talking about earlier, with music. And I kind of take a similar approach to that. John, where can people find you, and what platforms are you on?
Yeah, well, you can find my pro-life missionary content on all platforms at j_Rowell.
Excellent. And we do got AM, producer in the background, pushing the buttons and doing the
Absolutely.
awesome
Shout out
things.
to AM. We wouldn't be able to do this without him. He keeps us on track because we are all a terrible amount of personalities here at Culture Warriors Unchained. Give us a follow. Like I said, we'd love to have you guys be a part of the conversation. John, we would love to have you come back and talk to us again. Maybe if we get around to the sex robots, we'll have you back on. You can help us digest that and what that means for your generation. Drew, don't distract me. This has been Culture Warriors Unchained. Everybody have a good night.
Culture Warriors. Yeah. Unchained. Let's go. Lines in the sand, welcome to the front row. Real life hitting everybody. Culture Warriors. Yeah. Unchained.